The briefcase clicked open, and I watched my aunt's expression shift from smug superiority to something I'd never seen before: raw, primal terror. Marcus pulled out a single folder, and the entire backyard went silent, except for the sizzle of burgers. Nobody was watching any. But let me back up. I need you to understand how we got here. My name is Lennox Barrett, and 6 years ago, a drunk driver turned my spine into a collection of titanium rods and shattered dreams. I was 23, 3 months away from my medical school graduation. One second I was driving home from a study session, the next I was being cut out of my crumpled Honda with the jaws of life. The settlement was $7.2 million. The disability checks? They were legitimate. I couldn't stand for more than 30 minutes without pain that made me want to scream. But my family didn't see the physical therapy sessions where I cried into towels. They didn't see the nights I seriously considered ending it all because the phantom pain was so intense I couldn't sleep. They saw money. My Aunt Patricia specifically saw money she thought should be hers. After all, she'd raised me like her own, after my mother died when I was 12. Never mind that she'd cashed my mother's life insurance policy meant for my college fund. Never mind that she'd made me work at her nail salon every weekend without pay because family helps family. The barbecue was supposed to be my cousin Derek's engagement celebration. I'd almost skipped it, but Derek and I had been close as kids. I thought maybe, just maybe, this could be an olive branch. I'd even brought an expensive bottle of champagne. Stupid. So incredibly stupid. I arrived at 1 p.m., wearing a loose sundress that hid my back brace. Patricia was holding court by the grill, her laugh that particular sharp cackle that always made my shoulders tense. "Well, well," she announced as I walked through the gate. "Look who decided to show up. Still collecting those checks, Lennox?" The conversations around the patio died. 15 faces turned toward me. "Hi, Aunt Patricia," I said quietly. "I brought champagne for Derek and Amanda." "How generous," Derek's fiancée Amanda said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Using disability money to buy fancy alcohol. Real classy. If you want the full truth about what happened next, hit like so this story reaches more people." Derek laughed. Actually laughed. "Come on, babe. Let her enjoy the party. It's not like she has anything else going on." I felt Marcus tense beside me. He'd insisted on coming. Said he had a professional interest in attending. I'd thought he meant he wanted to see the family that had been pressuring me to loan them money for the past 6 years. I had no idea what he actually meant. Patricia grabbed a beer from the cooler, her French manicured nails clicking against the aluminum. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. She's still living off disability checks. Such a waste. That money could have helped the whole family." Derek nodded. "Yeah, seriously. We all struggle. But some of us actually work." That's when Marcus stood up. "Excuse me," Marcus said, his voice cutting through the humid July air like a blade. "I don't believe we've been properly introduced." Patricia turned, eyebrow raised. She was already 3 beers deep, her face flushed and combative. "And who the hell are you? Lennox's boyfriend, another leech?" "Marcus Chen. I'm Lennox's financial advisor." He reached down and picked up the leather briefcase he'd brought. The one I'd questioned in the car. The one he'd smiled about mysteriously. I watched my aunt's expression shift. Just slightly. A flicker of something that might have been concern. "Financial advisor?" Derek's fiancée Amanda leaned forward. "What, you help her budget her disability checks?" Marcus smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. "Not exactly. Lennox, do you mind if I share some information with your family? I think it's relevant to the conversation." My heart was pounding. We'd never discussed this. "Marcus, what are you—" "Trust me," he said quietly. Then louder. "You see, I've been managing Lennox's investment portfolio for the past 5 years. We've been very strategic." Patricia laughed, but it sounded forced. "Investment portfolio? Please. She lives in a 1-bedroom apartment and drives a 10-year-old Camry." "Yes," Marcus agreed. "Very prudent lifestyle choices. Excellent for wealth accumulation." The briefcase clicked open. He pulled out a single manila folder. "For context," Marcus continued, addressing the crowd like he was presenting to a boardroom, Lennox's settlement was $7.2 million. After legal fees and immediate medical expenses, she had approximately $5.8 million to invest. Derek whistled low. 5.8? Damn, Len. You've been crying poverty while sitting on almost 6 million? Had. Marcus corrected. Past tense. 6 years ago. Comment exposed if you believe she deserved justice for what came next. My Uncle Rick, Patricia's husband, moved closer. I could see the calculation in his eyes. So how much does she have now, after 6 years of living expenses? Marcus pulled out a single sheet of paper. Well, let's see. We started with conservative investments, index funds, some bonds, a few carefully selected growth stocks. Lennox lives off approximately $40,000 a year, well below the disability threshold, which is why she still qualifies for her monthly checks. 40,000? Patricia's voice was sharp. That's it? While sitting on millions? That's called financial responsibility, Marcus said. But to answer your question about her current net worth, he paused. The entire backyard was silent. Even the neighbor's dog had stopped barking. Patricia's hand trembled as she set down her beer. How much? As of this morning's market close, Marcus said, looking at the paper with theatrical precision. Lennox's portfolio is worth approximately $19.3 million. Someone dropped a plate. The sound of shattering ceramic punctuated the silence. That's impossible, Patricia whispered. That's not. You're lying. I have documentation, Marcus said calmly. Would you like to see it? Derek's face had gone pale. 19 million? Len, you've been living like you're broke while you're worth $19 million? Yes, I said, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. I have. And do you want to know why? Patricia's face had turned an alarming shade of red. Why? Why would you pretend to be poor? Do you have any idea how many times I've had to scrape by? How many times I've worried about bills? Worried about bills? The words came out of me like venom. You own 3 rental properties. You drive a BMW. Your husband just bought a boat. That's different. It's not different, my voice cracked. You want to know why I kept my finances private? Because of this. Because of exactly this moment right here. Marcus put a hand on my shoulder. A subtle reminder that he was there. That I wasn't alone. Derek's fiancée Amanda was scrolling frantically on her phone. Oh my God, I'm looking it up. This is real. I'm seeing articles. Settlement investing success stories. There's a whole case study about turning 5.8 million into 19 million in 6 years. Stop, Patricia commanded. Just stop. Lennox, you owe this family. I raised you, I clothed you, I fed you. You cashed my mother's life insurance policy, I said flatly. $87,000 meant for my college education. You told me there was no money left. The backyard had become a tableau of frozen faces. Derek's best man, Chad, had his burger halfway to his mouth. Forgotten. The neighbors who'd wandered over for the party were suddenly very interested in their shoes. Uncle Rick cleared his throat. Now, Len, that's not exactly fair. Your aunt needed that money for what? For the kitchen renovation? For the trip to Cancun? I have the receipts, Uncle Rick. I hired a forensic accountant last year. I know exactly where that money went. Patricia's mouth opened and closed. You've been investigating me? Not just you, Marcus interjected smoothly. He pulled another folder from his briefcase. Shall we discuss the 17 occasions where family members have requested loans from Lennox? Loans that were never intended to be repaid. Type yes if you want to see all the targets exposed at once. Derek stood up so fast his chair fell backward. Wait, what? I borrowed $5,000 fair and square. I was going to pay it back. When? I asked. It's been 3 years. You blocked my number after I asked about it the 5th time. I didn't block. He stopped, swallowed. Okay, fine, but 5,000 isn't exactly a fortune to someone worth 19 million. Is that what you think? My voice was dangerously quiet. That because I have money, I owe it to you? To any of you? Amanda set down her phone. Derek told me you were stingy, that you refused to help with the wedding. He asked for $60,000, I said. For a wedding. and when I said no, he told me I was a selfish bitch who'd forgotten where she came from. Because you did, Derek shouted. We're family. Family helps each other. You're absolutely right, I said. Family helps each other. So let's talk about how you've helped me, Derek. Let's talk about the night I called you crying because the pain was so bad I couldn't move, and you sent me to voicemail because you were at a bar. Derek's face went slack. Behind him, Amanda's eyes widened. Clearly, he'd never mentioned that night. That was one time, Derek stammered. I didn't know it was serious. It was 3 times, I interrupted. 3 separate times I called you in the middle of the night. Once, I'd fallen and couldn't get up. I laid on my bathroom floor for 6 hours before my neighbor heard me crying. Patricia waved her hand dismissively. Oh, don't be dramatic. You could have called 911. I was ashamed, I said, the words bitter in my mouth. I was 24 years old and couldn't get off the floor by myself. I didn't want strangers to see me like that. I wanted my family, my cousin who I'd grown up with, my cousin who I'd covered for when he wrecked his mom's car at 17, my cousin who I'd lent my college savings to when he needed to make bail for that DUI. The silence that followed was deafening. That was different, Derek finally said. I was young. I made mistakes. You were 21, I shot back. I was 17, and I gave you $3,000 that I'd saved from working 2 jobs. Money I needed for textbooks. Did you ever pay me back? He looked at his feet. I thought we were past this. We were never past it, I said. I just stopped asking because you made me feel guilty for wanting my own money back. Marcus flipped open another folder. Speaking of money, should we discuss the family investment opportunity from 3 years ago? Uncle Rick's head snapped up. Now hold on. The one where you needed $75,000 to invest in a sure thing restaurant concept? Marcus continued. The restaurant that never materialized? The restaurant that was supposed to pay Lennox back double within a year? The deal fell through, Rick said defensively. That's business. Sometimes investments don't work out. Except there was no restaurant, Marcus said calmly. There was no business plan. There was no LLC. You took $75,000 of Lennox's money and used it to pay off your gambling debts. The collective gasp was almost comical. Patricia turned to her husband, her expression murderous. You told me that money went to the restaurant. Baby, listen. You gambled away $75,000 that you stole from my niece. Share this video so others understand what was hiding in families like this. I didn't steal it, Rick protested. She gave it to me. She signed paperwork. Paperwork that promised repayment, Marcus said. He held up a document. With interest. 6% annually. It's been 3 years. With compounding interest, you currently owe Lennox $92,814. Rick's face went white. I don't have $90,000. I know, I said quietly. You have $17,000 in checking, $4,000 in savings, and a home equity line of credit that's nearly maxed out. I know because I know everything now. I spent the last year finding out exactly how much my family has stolen from me. Patricia's voice was small. Stolen is a strong word. What would you call it? Patricia straightened, trying to regain control. I'd call it family supporting family, which you clearly know nothing about anymore. You're right, I agreed. I don't know anything about that because what I experienced wasn't family support. It was exploitation. Marcus pulled out yet another folder. How many had he brought? Should we compile the total? Please do, I said. Derek held up his hands. Okay, everyone just calm down. We don't need to air all this dirty laundry at my engagement party. Your engagement party that Lennox wasn't even supposed to enjoy? Amanda suddenly spoke up. Everyone turned to her. She was looking at Derek with dawning horror. You said she'd probably just drop off a gift and leave. You said she never stays long because she knows she's not really wanted. Amanda. You said that if she did stay, we could work on her about loaning us money for the honeymoon. Amanda's voice was rising. You said she was sitting on millions doing nothing with it. Derek's face had turned purple. Babe, you're taking it out of context. What context makes that okay? She turned to me. I'm so sorry, I didn't I thought you were actually stingy. He made it sound like you were rich and selfish. I am rich, I said. But I'm not selfish for refusing to fund everyone else's poor decisions. Marcus cleared his throat. The running total, based on documented loans and gifts: Derek, 5,000. Rick, 75,000. Patricia. The life insurance policy of 87,000 plus approximately 30,000 in borrowed funds over the years. Patricia's sister Margaret. Margaret isn't even here, Patricia interrupted. No, but she borrowed 12,000 for her son's rehab, which she never paid back. Your brother Thomas borrowed 8,000 for his truck. Your mother, Lennox's grandmother, was convinced to invest 15,000 in Patricia's nail salon expansion that never happened. My mother gave that freely, Patricia hissed. She has Alzheimer's, I said flatly. You took advantage of her before I could get power of attorney. That money was supposed to help pay for her memory care facility. The crowd had grown. More neighbors had wandered over, drawn by the raised voices. This was going to be the talk of the neighborhood for months. Comment Karma. If you think they finally got what they deserved. Patricia's oldest friend Carol was standing near the fence. I watched her expression shift from curiosity to disgust as she absorbed what she was hearing. So what's the total? I asked Marcus. He did some quick math on his phone. Approximately $232,000. That's not counting interest or inflation adjustment. Uncle Rick laughed, but it was hollow. You can't actually expect us to pay that back. That's insane. You're right, I said. I don't expect you to pay it back. Because you can't. You've already spent it. What I expect is for you to understand exactly what you've taken from me. Patricia's eyes narrowed. So this is what? Revenge? You came here to humiliate us? No, I said. I came here because Derek invited me to his engagement party. You're the one who decided to announce to everyone that I'm living off disability checks like it's something shameful. It is shameful, Patricia exploded. You're young and capable, and you're taking government money when other people actually need it. I'm disabled, I said, my voice ice cold. I have documentation from 3 separate doctors. I have titanium rods in my spine. I have chronic pain that wakes me up at night. I qualified for those disability checks legally and ethically. But you don't need them, Derek argued. You have $19 million. The disability checks are $1,200 a month, Marcus interjected. In 6 years, that's approximately $86,400. Compared to her investment returns of over $13 million, the disability income represents 0.66% of her wealth growth. It's statistically negligible. But it's the principle, Amanda said, though she sounded uncertain now. The principle? I laughed, and it came out bitter. You want to talk about principles? Let's talk about how Derek told me 2 years ago that I was faking my disability to get out of helping him move. Let's talk about how Patricia told everyone at Grandma's funeral that I was milking the accident for attention. I never said that, Patricia protested weakly. You said it to Aunt Carol. Who told Aunt Margaret? Who told me? I gestured to Carol standing by the fence. She wouldn't meet Patricia's eyes. Carol cleared her throat. You did say that, Patty, at the reception. You said she was being dramatic about the pain. Patricia's face flushed. I was upset. It was my mother's funeral. So was I said quietly. She was my grandmother, and I'd driven 4 hours with a back brace on to be there. But you spent the entire reception telling people I was making it up for sympathy. Derek's best man Chad spoke up suddenly. Man, this is heavy. Maybe we should just… No, I interrupted. No, we're not just anything. For 6 years I've been quiet, I've been understanding, I've been the bigger person. I'm done. Marcus pulled out the final folder. This one was thicker. Lennox asked me to prepare a complete financial forensic analysis of all family transactions. We have everything. Bank transfers, PayPal records, Venmo transactions, even personal checks. That's illegal, Rick sputtered. You can't just… It's completely legal, Marcus corrected. Every transaction Lennox was involved in, she has every right to investigate. And the pattern is clear. Over 6 years, members of this family have extracted approximately $232,000 through various requests, guilt trips, and outright manipulation. Type shocked if you never saw this coming. Patricia sat down heavily on a patio chair. So what now? You're going to sue us? Take us to court? No, I said. The word hung in the air. Everyone stared at me. You're not? Derek asked, suspicious. I'm not going to sue you, I confirmed. Do you know why? Because we're family? Patricia asked hopefully. No, because taking you to court would cost me time, energy, and emotional bandwidth that you're not worth. Every hour I'd spend in a courtroom is an hour of my life I'd be giving you. You've taken enough. Patricia's relief was visible. She actually smiled. Well, I'm not finished, I said. I'm not suing you, but I am cutting you off. Completely. Permanently. The smile died. What does that mean? Derek asked. It means exactly what it sounds like, Marcus said. Lennox has instructed me to draft formal cease and desist letters to every family member who has requested or received money from her. Any future contact requesting financial assistance will be considered harassment. You can't do that, Patricia whispered. We're family. Family doesn't do what you've done, I said. Family doesn't exploit disability. Family doesn't steal from the vulnerable. Family doesn't spread lies and rumors to justify their own guilt. Uncle Rick found his voice. You're being dramatic. We borrowed money. That's not a crime. You borrowed money you never intended to repay, I corrected. You borrowed money while simultaneously telling everyone I was selfish. You borrowed money, and then made me feel guilty for having any in the first place. Derek's hands were shaking. Len, come on. We've had good times too. Remember when we were kids? Remember the treehouse? I remember you pushed me out of the treehouse and I broke my arm, I said. I remember your mom screamed at me for not being careful and made me apologize to you for bleeding on your shirt. Amanda's hand went to her mouth. I remember a lot of things, I continued. I remember every birthday you forgot. Every Christmas where your family had piles of presents and I got a gift card to Target. Every time I needed something and was told money doesn't grow on trees, while watching Patricia get another designer purse. I worked for those purses, Patricia said defensively. With money stolen from my mother's life insurance, I shot back. Money that was supposed to send me to college. Money that I had to take out student loans for, because you told me it was all gone. Do you know how much debt I graduated with? You got a settlement, Rick argued. You got millions. So you had some student loans. Boo-hoo. I graduated with $187,000 in student debt, I said. For undergrad and medical school. Debt I wouldn't have had if Patricia hadn't stolen my mother's insurance money. The number hung in the air like smoke. Carol spoke up again. Patty, you told us there wasn't any life insurance money. You said you had to pay for the funeral out of pocket. The funeral cost $6,000, Marcus said, pulling out yet another document. The policy paid out $87,000. Patricia deposited the full amount into her personal checking account. If this shocked you, comment exposed below. Patricia stood up, her chair scraping loudly. I was her guardian, I had expenses. Raising a teenager isn't cheap. You mean the teenager who worked at your nail salon for free? I asked. The teenager who bought her own school clothes with babysitting money? The teenager who ate ramen most nights because you said groceries were too expensive? That's not fair. Patricia's voice cracked. I did my best. Your best was stealing from a child, I said simply. The words hit Patricia like a physical blow. She staggered backward, and for a moment I almost felt guilty. Almost. Then I remembered being 16, finding the insurance policy statement in Patricia's desk while looking for stamps, seeing my mother's name, seeing the $87,000 payout, seeing Patricia's signature on the deposit slip. I remembered confronting her. I remembered her slapping me and telling me I was ungrateful. I remembered her screaming that she'd sacrificed everything to take me in, that I owed her, that the money was hers by right for putting up with me. I remembered crying in my room, believing her, believing I was the problem. I was 14 when my mom died, I said, my voice steady now. 14 years old, traumatized. Grieving. And you saw an opportunity. That's not. Patricia tried. You saw a life insurance policy and a kid with no one else to turn to. You became my guardian not because you loved me, but because it gave you access to money. Derek shook his head. Mom wouldn't do that. Your mom did exactly that, I said. And you benefited from it too, Derek. Where do you think the money for your car came from on your 16th birthday? The car Patricia said she'd been saving for? His face went pale. The Mustang? $22,000, Marcus confirmed. Purchased 4 months after Patricia received the insurance payout. Derek looked at his mother. You told me Dad saved for that. I did save, Patricia said desperately. We both contributed. Your husband was unemployed that year. Marcus interrupted. Lennox, should we show them the tax returns? No, I said quietly. I think we've shown enough. Amanda was staring at Derek like she'd never seen him before. You knew about this. You had to have known. I didn't. Derek started. Yes, you did, I said. Maybe not all the details, but you knew something was wrong. You knew I was struggling, and your mom had suddenly bought you a new car. You just didn't care. The engagement party was thoroughly ruined now. Half the guests had left. The others were watching like this was reality TV. Carol walked over and stood beside me. I'm ashamed, she said to Patricia. I've known you for 20 years and I'm ashamed to call you my friend. Carol. Patricia reached out. No, Carol said firmly, don't. What you did to this girl, to this woman, it's unforgivable. Another voice joined in. Derek's uncle from his father's side. I always wondered why Lennox never came to family events. Now I know. Patricia. You should be ashamed. One by one, people began to leave. But not quietly. They left with backward glances at Patricia. Whispers to each other. This story would spread through their social circles like wildfire. Share this video so communities understand what happens in families like this. Patricia sank back into her chair, her face in her hands. You've ruined me. You've turned everyone against me. No, I said. You did this yourself. I just finally stopped covering for you. Derek was standing frozen, his engagement party forgotten. What happens now? Now? I looked at Marcus. Now we leave. That's it? Derek's voice was hollow. You just drop all this and walk away? What else is there? I asked. You want me to stay? Have some cake? Pretend the last 6 years didn't happen? Amanda pulled away from Derek. I need a minute. I need to think. She walked into the house. Derek started to follow, but she held up a hand, stopping him. Let her go, I said. She just found out the man she's about to marry has been complicit in financial abuse. She deserves time to process. Complicit? Derek's voice cracked. I didn't abuse anyone. You asked me for money while knowing how your mother treated me, I said. You knew I was struggling to afford physical therapy while working part-time. You knew I was in pain. You knew I was vulnerable. And you asked me for $5,000 for a business opportunity that never existed. It was a real business. It was a scam. Marcus interjected. A multi-level marketing scheme. You made $700 and quit after 2 months. Derek's silence was answer enough. Uncle Rick finally stood up. Fine. You want to burn all your bridges? Go ahead. But don't come crying to us when you need family. When I need family? I laughed, and it sounded slightly unhinged even to my own ears. When exactly did you act like family? When you gambled away my money? When you lied about the restaurant? When you told your wife the money went to a business investment? Everyone makes mistakes, Rick muttered. Mistakes are accidental, I said. What you did was deliberate, calculated. You saw someone you could exploit and you took full advantage. Patricia finally looked up, her makeup streaked with tears. What do you want from us, Lennox? An apology? Fine, I'm sorry, we're all sorry. I don't want your apology, I said. It's 6 years too late and it's not sincere. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry everyone knows now. You're not sorry for what you did. Then what? Patricia's voice turned sharp. You want us to grovel? You want to watch us suffer? I want you to understand, I said. my voice breaking slightly. I want you to understand what you took from me. It wasn't just money. Marcus squeezed my shoulder gently. You took my trust. I continued. You took my ability to believe in family. You took the one thing I had left after losing my mom. The hope that someone, anyone, actually cared about me as a person and not as a source of income. The backyard was nearly empty now. Just Patricia, Rick, Derek, and a handful of people too shocked to leave. I was alone, I said quietly. After the accident, I was alone in every way that mattered. And instead of helping me, instead of being there for me, you circled like vultures. Comment justice if you believe she made the right choice. Patricia stood up, her voice cold now. If that's how you feel, then you're right. We're done. Don't bother coming around anymore. That's exactly what I planned, I said. Goodbye, Patricia. I turned to leave. Marcus gathered his folders and followed. Lennox, Derek called out. Len, wait. I paused. Didn't turn around. I'm sorry, Derek said. I know it doesn't mean much now, but I'm really sorry. I was selfish. I was stupid. I let Mom manipulate how I saw you. I turned slowly. He looked genuinely upset, tears in his eyes. Do you remember the treehouse? He asked. Not when I pushed you. Before that, when we were 7 and 8, we made a pact. Best friends forever. Blood siblings even though we weren't blood. I remember, I said quietly. Can we? His voice broke. Is there any way to fix this? Any way to go back? I looked at him for a long moment. My cousin, the boy I'd grown up with, the teenager I'd covered for, the young man who'd turned his back on me when I needed him most. No, I said finally. There's no going back. You can't unfake concern. You can't unlie about caring. You can't give me back the nights I cried myself to sleep wondering why my family hated me. We didn't hate you. You treated me like a resource, I interrupted, like a bank account with feelings. And when I wouldn't give you unlimited access, you punished me with guilt and isolation. I can change, Derek said desperately. I can be better. Maybe you can, I acknowledged. But you'll have to do it without me. I'm done being your test case for personal growth. Amanda appeared in the doorway, a small bag in her hand. She walked past Derek without looking at him. Amanda? Derek turned. Babe, where are you going? To my sister's, she said flatly. I need time to think about whether I want to marry someone who treats family like this. But You asked your disabled cousin for $60,000 for our wedding, Amanda said. $60,000 that she didn't owe us, that she had every right to refuse. And when she said no, you called her a selfish bitch. Derek's face crumpled. I told you that in confidence. You told me that as if it was true, Amanda corrected. As if she was the problem. I need to figure out if this is who you are, or if this is who your family made you. She walked past me, then stopped. I'm sorry. For judging you. For believing what Derek said without questioning it. Thank you, I said. She left. Derek stood in the middle of his destroyed engagement party, looking lost. Patricia was crying now, ugly sobs that shook her shoulders. Rick had his arm around her, but he looked shell-shocked himself. Come on, Marcus said gently. Let's go. We walked through the gate. Behind us I could hear Patricia's wailing, Derek's desperate pleas for Amanda to come back. The murmur of the remaining guests processing what they'd witnessed. I didn't look back. Marcus drove. I sat in the passenger seat, watching the neighborhood disappear behind us. How do you feel? He asked after several minutes of silence. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Free, I said finally. Scared. Sad. But mostly free. He nodded. That's good. That's healthy. Is it? I asked. I just destroyed my family. No, Marcus said firmly. You just stop letting them destroy you. There's a difference. 3 months later, I got a letter from Derek. He and Amanda had postponed the wedding. He was in therapy. He wanted to meet, no expectations, just talk. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry anymore. I wasn't. The rage had burned itself out somewhere between the barbecue and now. I didn't respond because I finally understood something crucial. Not every relationship needs to be saved. Not every bridge needs to be rebuilt. Some things are better left in ashes. Patricia sent a Facebook message. She'd started therapy too. She wanted to make amends. She'd even calculated the money she owed me, $117,000 with interest. She offered to pay $50 a month until it was settled. At that rate, she'd be paying for the next 195 years. I blocked her. I sold my apartment and moved across the country. New city, new life, new therapist who didn't know the old wounds. Marcus called every few weeks to update me on investment. The portfolio had grown. I'd hit 22 million by the end of the year. I donated $1 million to a disability rights organization, anonymously, because that money wasn't about me proving something anymore. It was just money. I'm 31 now. I still get the disability checks. $1,100 a month now, after cost of living adjustments. I still have chronic pain. Some days I can barely walk. But I'm happy. I have friends who care about me as a person, not a bank account. I have a partner who sees my disability as part of me, not a tragedy or a scam. I have a life that's mine. Last week I got a wedding invitation. Derek and Amanda, finally tying the knot. There was a handwritten note inside. I understand if you don't come, but you're invited. No expectations, no obligations, just an invitation. I haven't decided yet. Maybe some bridges can be rebuilt. Just not the old way. Not on the foundation of guilt and obligation and unpaid debts. If we rebuild, it will have to be something new, something honest, something real. If you believe she made the right choice walking away, hit the like button. Comment freedom. If you think she finally found peace, and subscribe to hear more stories about people who refuse to be victims, because standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. What would you have done in her position? Comment yes if you would have cut them off too, or forgive if you think she should give them another chance. Thanks for watching.